Hello, everybody. Welcome back to This Week in Thought. It has been a long time since we recorded a video. I think it might have been back in May of this year. April, May, June, somewhere in there was when we recorded the last video. And as it turns out, we decided that's going to be the end of season one, which is interesting. It's very philosophy heavy. This is actually going to be the beginning of season two. So this is episode 1 of season 2. And we're going to change things up a little bit in season 2. We are still going to talk philosophy, generally speaking, but we're going to talk about other things, and we're going to take a more relaxed, a little bit of a less formal approach in season 2. We're going to hopefully reduce the amount of editing that we do. Season 1 was highly edited, and it took a lot of time for us to do that. It made it tougher for us to do turnaround and to get videos published, and we're going to try to reduce the amount of editing and reduce our turnaround time for episodes in season 2. I want to mention, sorry, as always, a little out of sorts here. I'm Chunky. In the middle, that's Kasig. Over on the right is RedMed. So these are the three. If you've watched any of season 1, you recognize us as participants from season 1. Schedules are always changing, and right now, Kasig's kind of in a transition period with his schedule. So he's going to join us when he can. There might be episodes where he's not able to, but RedMed and I are going to kind of soldier forward in season 2. So we might have a few episodes where it's just the two of us here. Hopefully the three of us will be able to join in on as many conversations as we can, though. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we're going to change up the format a little bit for season 2, in that with season 1, every episode was one topic. And it was a topic we would talk about ahead of time. We would kind of all do a little bit of research, so we would sort of do kind of almost like a deep academic dive, each of us on that particular topic. In season 2, we're just going to try to tackle one topic. It's very broad, and we're really just generally talking about humanity. So I think it's going to be a lot of human behavior, but it may be other things. It may be aesthetics. It may be progress. It may be problems of humanity. I have no idea where it's going to go. RedMed did make a request offline before we settled on this format. He said, why don't we try in season 2, at the end of each discussion, at the end of each episode, let's remember where we were and let's pick up with that thought for the next episode. So it'll feel like one long conversation to the viewer if they want to watch, a much longer format type of video than they saw in season 1, which was really just kind of 1 hour, 45 minutes to an hour about a particular topic. So I think we've kind of all agreed on that. Humanity is going to be the topic for season 2. I'll kind of get it kicked off here a little bit. I want to mention a couple things. This has been a crazy year. This summer, boy, we had new offices built in our basement. You can see kind of the fruits of our labor here behind us. I finally got my library installed in my new office. And it was a tough year for us, kind of sad. We had to put our dog to sleep. Our dog was 15 and she was having all kinds of problems, seizures and stuff. And that's sort of the sign when they're not very mobile and things are breaking down. You kind of got to make the decision. So back in August, we had to make that decision. That was really tough. And we haven't gotten a new dog yet. I don't know that we're going to. It was like 22 years in a row now, except for about 6 months between the two of them that we'd had a dog. That's a long time to be a pet owner. So we're kind of taking a break from it for a while and going to see if we like it or if we want to go back to it, or we don't know, not really sure what we're going to do going forward. So that kind of was how that ended. That summer ended on a really kind of a bummer note. And then it was just a really hot summer. We ended up losing most of the vegetables in our garden. That was kind of a bummer. And then work. Boy, I've just been swamped with work. And so I haven't really had a lot of time to do anything. And just in the process of trying to wrap up a big project, hopefully wrap that up by the end of the year. And I was talking to the guys here and talk about, hey, is it time to get season 2 started? We said, yeah, I think it's time to get started rock and rolling again. And so here we are. This is now December 1st of 2023. So it's been almost a year since we recorded the first episode of season 1. And kind of see where it goes from here. Specifically about humanity, I'm not sure where to start. I think my interest lies in human behavior, and I know that when I was much younger, I was not a fan of people at all. Obviously, I've been an introvert my whole life, but really sort of a misanthrope, and I really thought that I more than disliked people, I thought I hated people. And then as I got older and talked to more people, learned more, kind of studied psychology, I came to realize that it's not people that I hate at all. It's just everything they think, say, and do. So it's sort of the sum total of human behavior is really my problem with them. And so it's occurred to me that I guess sort of my main goal in life is to figure out what it is about human behavior that I don't like, and then to try to convince people to behave better. Um, so I kind of want to see what everybody else thinks about that, if they agree, if they got different ideas, or maybe they got other things they want to talk about in the topic. So anybody else interested, go for it.
Yeah, I think human change is possible, but it's yeah, I think it happens on an individual basis. I think for the most part, humans just follow the script, and it's. I've always been interested in the people that don't follow the script. The
I don't.
innovators.
Um, I really don't think there is a script per se. I think people are people, dumb or intelligent. They're just people. Um, there's ways to improve yourself and ways to not. But I don't think there's a script. I think you make your own choices and you make your own life as you go along.
Yeah, but I think biology is kind of what I mean by the script, where having kids takes a lot of time. So it it sort of makes some choices for people, and it takes a ton of time. I think, at least for a couple of years.
You're right. It does take a lot of time, but my script, I guess, my choice was initially not to have children at all. But I was, I don't know, not really opted into it, but I was kind of convinced that maybe it's a good thing to have a child and produce something that would actually maybe make a difference in somebody's or many people's lives. I'm not sure.
Sorry, I'm a little hungry. I don't think I ate breakfast yet. Skittles probably aren't the best breakfast, so do as I say, don't do as I do, to quote my parents. Um, but hey, Redmond, I was just gonna say real quick. You have been a parent for a while. Your kids are they about high school age now?
One of them is, yeah.
And what's been your experience so far with parenthood? If you don't mind me asking, like the good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between.
We've got really good kids. And I've been lucky as far as that goes. But there really hasn't been much ugly to it. There's been some bad, but that's just normal kid crap. You know, as they're younger, they're defying you just to test the waters type thing. Um, but the good is, you know, my one kid was sitting there having breakfast, and then out of nowhere, which I thought was really stumped me for a minute. They asked, "Do you have any good advice for me?"
Wow. Did you?
I'm like, "Oh, what do you mean?" And I mean, I kind of fumbled my way through it, but yeah, it, parenting has been a different challenge, definitely, than just marriage.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's been my experience too. But I'm really curious, like, what did he want? Was he looking for career advice or life advice or?
Life advice. He wanted to know my advice on life and what to do, and I'm like, it threw me. But the first thing I said was, to just follow your dreams, but make it realistic. You know, if you want to be a millionaire, I didn't say this to him, but I said, if you want to be a millionaire, figure out how to be a millionaire. If you want to be a bum, figure out how to be a bum. I mean, it's whatever your dream is, just follow it and make it yours. Which I think is what a lot of people don't do. They settle.
Boy, that's interesting advice. I always wanted to be a millionaire, but put forth the effort of a bum. That was sort of my two-pronged guiding approach to life, was make as much money doing the least amount of effort as possible. God, it's interesting you mentioned it. I have like 5 older brothers and 2 older sisters, and I remember one of my older brothers, when I was in high school, I guess maybe I asked him, like, about career advice like that, and said, hey, I've got a couple possible alternatives that I'm kind of thinking of going. What would you recommend? And he had some like crystal clear advice. He goes, he said, well, I would tell you, do not take your favorite like possible area of study or area of work and make that your career. Like, he goes, let's say art, for example, might be one of your career choices. He goes, my recommendation would, don't be a professional artist. I said, well, why not? Because what if I love that? And he goes, well, because the thing is, whatever you do for your career, you'll eventually grow to hate that, because once your paycheck and your livelihood are tied up in it, it won't be something that's fun anymore. All that fun will get sucked out and it'll become drudge work. So he said, if you've got like a couple interests, pick maybe your second or third interest, something that's not like your favorite thing, but something you can make a decent amount of money at and tolerate. Not that you love or hate, but that you can tolerate, because you'll grow to hate it given enough time once you have to collect years and years of paychecks on it. And then he goes, you'll still preserve your better interests for hobbies that you can do in your free time, and that won't be, corrupted by the need to make a paycheck off of them. And I thought that was great advice. I actually did. I did follow that advice, and I'm so thankful I did. Because to this day, I don't hate art for that reason, because I chose not to be an artist. I also don't hate writing, because that was one of the other things I was considering doing, trying to be like a fiction writer. And I didn't choose that, obviously. But
yeah, go ahead.
Well, it's just nice to be able to just create and not worry about having to sell it.
Right.
I wish I would have heard that advice.
Sorry.
Oh no, that's because I think that's right for everybody. You end up not liking what you're doing because it doesn't work out to the way you wanted it, and it's just now I do what I do to collect a paycheck. Now I do what I do just to survive, type thing. And yeah, now I do what I do, and I can't tolerate as much as I used to.
Is it other people's behavior you can't tolerate, or what can't you tolerate?
Like you said, I thought it used to be people, but it's definitely their behavior. I can't tolerate. I strongly dislike what some people do as their as just their everyday behavior.
Like, do you have specifics in mind? Because I think I agree, but I'm curious what. Or Kosik, I don't know if you got like specific things that people do that really piss you off. That.
Well, being cruel, but Redbed, you see kind of some of the results of all the bad behavior. Because
yeah, and there's there is a lot of bad behavior, and you get tired, you get burnt out of dealing with the same behavior over and over and over, and you want to change it, but you can't, because my one word to them or one sentence or whatever isn't going to make a difference in their life because of the way they live.
It's and there are very few people who don't want the world to be better. You talk most of the people on the street would be more than happy. Fair day's work for a fair day's wage.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't even think that's possible, or what they're doing right now. I don't think people are doing a fair day's work for a fair day's wage. They want a fair day's work for more than what they want, more than what it's worth.
Do you think we do a fair day's work for a fair day's wage, the three of us? Or any of us? Any of the three of us?
Oh yeah, we do. Because we've been around the job situation to know how to manage it and be like, well, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to get this much for it. So if that's all I'm going to get, that's all I'm going to, produce. Whereas the people that I've come across as far as job situations is they don't want to do the work, or they want to do the work for much more money than that work is worth.
See, I'm in that boat. I don't want to do the work, but if I am going to do the work, I want to get way more money than I think anybody should ever earn for doing that amount of work.
I'm just waiting for Star Trek, the Star Trek culture to come around. You don't want to work? Okay. You want to go be, a chef? Awesome, go do it.
Yeah, I don't think I want to be a chef.
Here.
Huh?
I said I think that kind of is here. I mean, I'll take a situation where this person gets hired on at a job and says, "Oh, I've always wanted to do this. This is, this has just been a dream of mine." And they start the job and they realize within a week that it's not a dream job. There's a lot of labor that goes into it and a lot of effort. And then they quit because the effort that they're putting in is not what they're getting paid for. And it's like, you got to start somewhere. You're not going to make $25 an hour lifting a bucket and dumping out water.
I think that one of the reasons why that happens is because if it's so easy to monetize your talent on the internet now. You can go and make like what I do, for instance, is like one certificate, like 6 months of studying, and it provides decent money. You don't have to, run your legs out. There's easier ways to make money. Like, if you can make stuff, you can make stuff and put it on Etsy. There's less gatekeepers with the internet. Because, like, if you're crafty, like before, you'd have to put up the money, get permits, pay rent. With the internet, you pay shipping costs, some boxes, and maybe, your setup. It's just so much easier. They really need to put more incentives to get people to do the job. Or make robots,
I don't know if we've ever talked about it because we haven't really talked about like current market conditions or current business models or things like that. But I think Amazon revolutionized our nation. In some ways, you could say they revolutionized the Western world because they changed like the traditional brick and mortar, like commercial establishment for like retail purchases. They sort of changed that from physical space to cyberspace. I don't know about you guys, but it's shocking to me the amount of money that I spend annually on Amazon purchases now. Like it's four figures. It's thousands of dollars a year I spend on Amazon, and it's all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's not just like books and gifts. It's like household things, tools, materials. I can't even tell you. Like it's so much stuff. And
well, actually,
yeah.
you could. Because there's a record of it.
Oh yeah, right, sure. It's scary when I go back and look at just how much I spent and what I bought. It's like
Oh,
holy
sure,
shit.
sure. Yeah, it.
You guys do a lot of online shopping now these days?
Yeah, for the
Not
most
really.
part, that's all I
Yeah.
pretty much do. But then with clothes, kind of they're weird, so I'll go and sort of, sort of hold the thing up and kind of. But I air dry my clothes, so I go to shop for clothes maybe once a year.
I I'd much rather go to a store and keep somebody's job,
Hmm.
you know. Whereas, like maybe that Amazon plant will have a robot that can go up and down three different aisles and pick stuff out. You go to Target, that's somebody's job to actually go say, "Oh, well, you need this, so let me go help you find it," type thing.
Yeah, it is, but there's two sides of that, or two aspects of that I'm not a fan of. The first is, so say you go to any brick and mortar store. What I find is that I go there and they just don't have what I want in stock. Like 99 times out of 100, they don't have it in stock. And so when I do the online shopping, like with Amazon, they've partnered with like just about every third party reseller in the world, it seems like, and I can find any product I want, like specifically exactly what I want, and get it shipped to me. So that's one thing where it's like availability, and delivery beats the hell out of me spending time, wasting more time driving to a brick and mortar store only to get there and find they don't have what I want. And now I've got to like settle or compromise or just say, well, that was a failure and it's a write off that wasted time. That's one thing. And then the second thing is, I'm not sure whether I like the idea of keeping people employed in traditional retail roles. I don't consider those to be desirable jobs. And the sooner that, like, let's say a traditional brick and mortar retail shop is driven out of business by an online retailer and replaced with like robotic warehouse workers and maybe delivery drivers, maybe eventually robotic drivers like driverless cars, the sooner we can get to the post scarcity economy, because the sooner that the owners of those stores will be forced to give universal basic income to people so that there's purchasing power in the hands of the consumers who will all be unemployed otherwise and have no capital to be able to spend on those products. So I'm very much like, yeah, I'm not a fan of traditional brick and mortar retail. I really like the online retail. I like the idea of the future economy, whatever that might be, personally. But I don't know. I also like convenience and having things delivered to me instead of me having to go get them myself.
I'm generally that way, except for grocery shopping. I'll still go to the grocery store. I don't order groceries online. I like walking around and maybe it's like like we used to walk around the plains and hunt or whatever. Maybe it's like that. Like you have to sort of, you feel it necessary to go out and find your food versus have it.
I got to go scavenge over in the frozen foods for my dinner. Yeah, we do grocery shopping in person. I say we, I mean my wife, because I can't stand grocery stores when there's other people there. Like I'll go, okay, if you want me to go grocery shopping, give me the list, and at 2 a.m. I'll go. That's what I used to do. Now since the pandy, they don't not open that late. They close at earlier time, and so there's always people there. It's like I don't want to be there when there's people there. So she goes,
Right.
good. I'd rather you not be there anyway because you're in such a piss poor mood because all the people, it makes it miserable for everyone. Oh, that works out
Again,
well.
you go at night, be careful to get you stocking shelves. Come on, you're not quitting on us.
Yeah.
I speaking of the pandy, I think that's what's caused all of the. I mean, it's caused a rift, I think, between owners and employees. Um, the owners are like, well, if you don't want to work, I'll just find somebody else that will stock the shelves for me, so that way my little robot can go pick everything up. I don't know. I just don't. I think the pandemic. I think the pandemic made people soft. You know, they expect now that it's kind of going back to the way the world used to be. Um, they don't want to do the job anymore. They don't want to do a job that an entry level person has to do to get to the spot that they want. Now they can just sit behind a computer desk and do Etsy or do or just resell stuff that they find from somebody else online.
It's funny that you say they don't want to do it anymore. And I think if you talk to those people, they'd go, oh, yeah, we never wanted to do it in the first place. It's just back then we didn't have the alternative to do anything else. Now that we got an alternative, fuck that. I'm going to go do something else.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I didn't work retail, but I worked in food service when I was younger, like high school age. And that was the worst, the single worst solitary employment experience in my life, just because it was disgusting on top of dealing with rude idiots and assholes. It just the half-eaten food, germs. I think about, we weren't even thinking about the pandy 30 years ago, but imagine if it had happened back then. You wouldn't have caught me dead working in a kitchen in a restaurant. I mean, that's like ground zero for disease transmission. No, thank you. I'm going nowhere near there. Hazmat suit, maybe, but probably not. But yeah, I hated that. And that's actually the reason that I went back to college. I had dropped out after my first semester. I was like, I don't need this. I have skills. I'll just go wash dishes again. I did that shit for 3 days and said, fuck that. Re-enrolled in school, and 4 semesters later, I was out. Had my degree, I was gone. Never looked back. But I don't know. So I guess it's motivation. I guess it's a question of motivation.
Yeah, motivation is important. I've always been motivated to keep free time. That's always been my primary objective. So I've always sort of worked jobs where you're paid to be there and observe. So you can read a little bit.
I don't know. I don't think the human race is motivated in the way that it should be.
How should it be motivated?
I agree with the post scarcity or whatever you.
Yeah, post scarcity economy. Yeah.
Yeah, that. I totally agree with that. I think we should strive to that, to where we don't have to work to get money or credits or whatever to buy what we want. It should just be available. But I don't think many other people in this world want that. I think they don't understand it.
What do you think people want?
Money.
For what purpose?
To have it. People want money to have it and say, I have money and I'm powerful now.
So you think they want power and that they equate money with power?
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement.
It's interesting. I don't know. Kosik may have a different take on this. I don't necessarily disagree with you. I do think people seek power, and I think that they equate money with power. But I don't know that power is the end goal. I mean, they may think that's the end goal, but I don't think they understand their own psychology well enough to know why they desire power in the first place. And I think most people that do want power, that are power hungry, it's that they feel like with power they have more control over things like resources. And with control over resources, they can address their real concern, which is the underlying fear of scarcity. They fear not having the resources, and that will mean they starve, they get thrown out of their house. They're homeless, they've got no clothes, and they're starving. So they're missing the 3 basic needs of life. And they figure, well, if I've got power, I can guarantee control of resources and prevent myself from ever being naked, hungry, and homeless. And so really what it comes down to is their ultimate drive is fear. And to me, that explains a lot of human psychology. And I agree that that's terrible if that's what's going on. And we should really get people to relax a little bit and stop worrying so damn much.
And, when things are going well, people are less fearful. But what do they say? What do they say with the logistic systems? We're 3 meals away or whatever from bad time. Once you start taking away food from people's families.
Who's taking away food from people's families?
No, I'm saying when in different places in the world.
Why would that happen, hypothetically?
War.
Okay. War is completely in the control of humans. That's in the domain of human behavior.
Sure.
We want to prevent war, we just don't go to war.
What's that?
I mean, we want to prevent war if we think it's going to disrupt things like supply chains. Don't go to war.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Don't murder people it's a pretty good rule,
I agree, it's a pretty good rule. So then the question is, what do we do with all the people that don't abide by that rule? The people that are the enemies who are murdering people and going to war with us or with other people.
Yeah, it's a tough, it's a onion type problem.
Well, and I think it comes down to fear. My question would be, what's motivating them to kill one another in the first place or to go to war? And I bet you it all comes down to they want to control resources because they're terrified that they're not going to have enough.
Sure, they want safety.
Safety, but that drive for safety, man, that fear, that's all the reptilian hindbrain. This is people not behaving like monkeys, but behaving like the reptiles we evolved from.
Sure. Well, that's why I think, throughout history, people have talked about the dragon kings and reptilian symbology's been all throughout history, and I think that's what they're talking about. That because have you ever seen the people who are like that? They've got they look like they have shark eyes, kind of. And I think they're using their lizard brain, and I think that's where that symbology comes from.
Okay.
But I think how do you get away from that?
I don't know if you mean that's actually a physical trait or if that's like you're just speaking metaphorically, but what percentage of people do you think are being driven by their reptilian hindbrain to act based on fear, and so they desire control and to obtain resources, massive resources? Like half the people, quarter of the people?
I think that depends on the socioeconomic conditions.
Okay, well, the current socioeconomic conditions, what percentage of people do you think are?
Well, I think it's a spectrum, so everybody does it to a degree.
Right, and what percentage do you think are doing it to an excessive degree?
Oh, I would just say that whatever the percentage of psychopaths, so what is it, 1.5% or something?
Do you consider politicians psychopaths?
On an individual basis. I think to get into power, you probably are further along on that spectrum. I think very few good people get into power. I think you get a lot of, Machiavellian, sort of neutral evil, probably.
See, and I wouldn't even use good or evil. I would just say the people that are getting into power, the one thing they have in common, the people that are running for office or they get elected office, they desire control. And the question is, why do they desire control? And I bet you, if you dig down through the psychology, they're all terrified. They're all operating with reptilian hindbrain ethics, which tell them, oh my God, if I control everything, I can protect myself. I can save myself and control the resources. And I'm saying that speaks to mental illness. I would say if you're seeking public office, there's probably something seriously psychologically wrong with you.
Well, I think to understand humans, you should understand trauma and how trauma affects the psyche and the body and how that goes in shockwaves out through society.
Yeah, but how would a 5-year-old, what trauma would a 5-year-old have that wants to always be in control of the game that they're playing? I'm the first one.
Hello?
Yeah.
Working?
Yeah, it's working.
Oh, okay.
I agree with you. It can happen. There can be trauma out there, but I don't think every child or every person that has that strives for power is traumatized in some way, shape, or form. I think there's the people out there that just have to have it, that just have to be in control.
But okay, if it's not trauma that's motivating them to desire power, what is it that's motivating them to desire power? Why do they want that power?
Probably, like you said, fear.
Yeah.
Fear of being run by somebody else, or ruled by somebody else, or ruled by something else. Um, they don't want to get stepped on, I guess you could say. Whereas other people who don't want power, it's not that they want to get stepped on, it's just that maybe they're more content with their place in life.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the limits of a healthy amount of fear are. I mean, if you don't have any fear whatsoever, then you don't look both ways before you cross the street. You're not washing your hands after you take a crap. You're not, you're not doing the basic self-preservation stuff that you need to do to live long enough to have experiences. But I think that it's like anything else. It can very easily spiral into excess. You can fear too much. You can start to fear all kinds of shit that really is not anything you should worry about. And I don't know if there's like a golden rule or a litmus test that says this is good fear, healthy fear, and this is like harmful or excessive fear. I would like to know what that is, what the limits of healthy fear are.
I wonder if it could be, as long as it's not, in moderation, but is it something you can control? Like, I'm afraid of, I don't even know what it exactly is.
I'm afraid of spiders. Is that a good example?
What's that?
Spiders. I'm terrified of spiders.
You can take steps. Yeah, I'm afraid of it. I can take steps to prevent it.
The steps I took is...
But, I'm afraid of the Omega point, the end of the universe. There's nothing you can do about that.
Well, sure you can. You can live a normal life and you'll be dead billions of years before that hits, so it's never anything sure. to even think about.
Well, and that's my point. If you can't, you shouldn't be afraid of stuff that you can't really have any say in.
I agree with that. And with the spiders, the steps that I took is we hired a pest control place to come in and they spray bug spray sure. down. And then that really has controlled the spiders. We don't really have as many as we used to, like when we first moved in. That was 20 years ago. So yeah, we've taken steps and now I don't really think about spiders that much. I mean, I'm still terrified of them. If I see one, it scares the crap out of me. But I don't really think about it.
Are you the type that runs from it or goes towards it and kills it to get rid of the fear of it?
I have killed it in a worst case scenario, but usually I just call my wife and she takes care of that.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's the happy division of role. It's like like I like to do this, so I'll do this. I don't like to do this. Will you please do this? And you sort of
we have different fears, yeah, because like she doesn't like rodents, and so if there's mice in the house, that's only happened a couple times. I deal with that. And if it's spiders, she knows I don't like them, so she deals with that. I also don't like flying things with stingers. Like bees and wasps kind of scare the crap out of me, but what can you do? She doesn't like birds. Birds don't bother me so much, generally.
Isn't that all an irrational fear, though?
Spiders?
Any fear, a fear of bugs or animals or anything like that, wouldn't you consider that irrational?
Maybe when I was younger and I was terrified of them, but I got bit by a brown recluse when we were in the middle of a moving day once. This was a long time ago, and it was bad. It's like my arms swelled up and got like infected and stuff, and went to the doctor and they're like, well, it's not fatal because you're an adult, but yeah, we're going to give you like antibiotics and we're going to put you on anti-inflammatories and stuff. And so it did eventually, they treated it. I didn't like have any necrosis or whatever.
Necrosis.
Yeah, I didn't have any of that. But I mean, it was like, oh, that was a well-founded fear. Like that reinforced the fear. Like, yeah, these are things that they can sneakily like creep up your sleeve and bite you. You don't even know it till it's too late, and then you look and you're like, oh, geez, and this could be a serious thing. So I don't think that was irrational. I think I was actually right
No,
on with that.
I think you are correct. That one's not irrational, but I think mine is very irrational.
What's yours?
Horses.
That's pretty rich. Like
It's
riding,
pretty irrational.
like riding horses.
Just them. I don't like when we go to like Grant's Farm or something for uh, like whatever they're doing. If the Clydesdales are out, I'm not getting near them.
Do you
Scare the crap out of me.
in the back of your mind, do you think they're going to get loose and trample you, or what do you think's going to happen?
I don't know what it is. There's a horse on the street pulling a carriage. I'll go to the other side of the street
Wow,
to get by it.
that's
It's
wild.
completely irrational.
They used to say that oh that's something that happened in your past life. The like they also used to say birthmarks were old wounds from your past lives. I like the ways that people used to describe, like, why does this happen? Oh well, and you know the stuff they made up. It's interesting because humans make up some interesting things. We're great storytellers.
That's true. Yeah. I don't. The horse thing, man. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, dude. I mean, I get it, and it is irrational. Stay away from horses. That would be like my advice.
And I do. But I've never been thrown from a horse.
Yeah.
I've never been trampled.
Did you ever
I
like
mean,
step in horse poop? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe there's like a revulsion to like feces.
I have no idea.
Oh, I don't know.
And I don't know when it started either. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's always been there or what. But then this is so irrational that I've been on a horse-drawn carriage. Right. But if I can look at it face to face, that's when the problem is.
Something about looking the horse in the eyes, like looking in the horse's mouth, looking at the. There's a euphemism somewhere in here. I'm just grasping. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Either that or I'm just a horse's ass.
Well, did you like read the Iliad as a kid or hear about the Iliad and the Trojan horse, and you're like, oh, I don't trust you. You got Greeks running around in you, man. Ain't letting you through the gates.
Like what about the horse head masks? Or do you have a opinion on that? Like on
No, those are just weird.
it's gonna be this. If somebody gets a grudge against you, they're gonna have to work. It's one of your secret, which you're now publishing on here.
Yeah. Surround my house with horses.
That's right.
It'd be like, what was that, Stalingrad, where they just starved the people out?
That's crazy, man.
Well, there's some more horses out there. I ain't going out. Sorry. I'm going to die in here.
You could probably get away with just like 4, one on each corner.
Or just put it in front of my door.
Did you
But
like
could go
read
out
a
a window? So if you have one on each corner,
Oh, that's true.
Did you read a scary story about horses as a kid? Somebody like read the Iliad to you as a little kid?
it's
Probably not. But I mean, I consider it to be just like birds. It's, what bird is going to attack a human? It has happened.
Hawk? Would a hawk do it? I don't know if hawks will mess with people or not. Eagle, like the big ones,
I don't know.
big birds of
I'm sure
prey.
if you get close enough to like their nest or something, I'm sure they would. But to just stand there, I don't think a bird's going to come attack you for any reason. So
Well, like-
I
My wife's fear of birds was when she was a kid. They were having a picnic or something, and like the how there's like food out wherever they were at, and I guess there were birds there, and I think they took off like as a flock or something and kind of came toward her, and so she was a little kid and that freaked her out, and it just stayed with her. So that was like the origin of that.
that would be the trauma
Right.
Now,
that causes the fear.
now geese are mean.
Oh, so are swans.
Oh, I didn't know. Yeah, so stay away from water birds. And
I,
in Australia, there's a land bird called a cassowary, and it's basically an ostrich with like claws on its feet, and it's really super territorial, and it will disembowel. It'll jump up. So yeah.
do you
Well, of
guys
course it's
interact with a lot of
Australia, so
birds?
don't
Yeah.
approach any. Yeah,
Do,
you
do,
got to wear the
Don't go
bubble.
to Australia. I mean, really.
do you
Well,
guys interact with a
you just
lot
have
of
to be
birds or
prepared. I'm
something?
going there. I may not come back.
Do you
Yeah.
guys interact with a lot of birds or something? I have no contact with birds generally.
Not
I don't
a
either.
lot.
I mean,
Although
I've had some, weird things happen with a bird, but I've never had any scary contacts.
the way
Like with the, go ahead.
I have it involved. I pulled into a park, and there were it had to have been 1,000 crows. It's the largest group of and
Wow.
crows are extremely intelligent. So much so that I didn't get out of the car because they were looking at like, how do we get to the fleshy part?
Woo.
So I was definitely like, okay, time to go, because I mean they were, you saw the intelligence in their eyes, terrifying.
Yikes.
But thankfully I was in a car. Could you imagine being on a bike going over a hill and oh,
No, but I'm definitely not riding my bike anymore. That's for sure. I don't
So,
know.
but as I think, like you said, well, those are irrational fears as far as I'm concerned. But the fear of not having stuff can definitely drive humanity, and I think people need, like you said, need to get away from that.
Well, what do you think? You think there's too much fear out there in the average person, or not enough, or just the right amount?
The average person,
Yeah.
I think, might have just the right amount. Might have enough to say, you know, there is this possibility, but I'm going to work to make that possibility not happen. To bring the opposite of it.
Okay.
There is the possibility that I won't have dinner tonight, but I'm going to I'm going to go cut some grass for $20, and now I can go to McDonald's and I've got myself a some sort of meal for myself tonight.
Do you think there's a lot of people out there who like just aren't employed who think that I need food? It just like occurred to them at like let's say 2 in the afternoon, and then they got a lawnmower and went and cut grass. Or what do you mean? Do you mean like there's somebody who's like I don't have a job but I got a lawnmower sitting at home and I'm hungry.
No, I think that was my example of more along the lines of I don't have the financial backup to feed myself or feed me and my partner for this month. So now I've got to go find a job that will give me the money to support the habit of eating food, and it will take care of it for that month. And then after that month, maybe I can continue with that um, that job or find a different one that I enjoy more.
You think there's a lot of people that are doing month to month gigs like that are living like that?
Yes,
Really?
there are. Yeah,
It's interesting. I don't know a lot of
just
people
about
like that.
just about any stagehand that I've ever come across is it's not month to month, but some of them are job to job. Like I need to get this, I need to load this concert in so I can get my name into this, to this person who can get me on the next job and then get me on the next job and then get me on the next job. Stagehands got hit really hard during the pandemic, and I don't know how they fared, how most of them fared during that, but uh, Yeah, there are people out there that do month to month type jobs.
Yeah, of the people you know, what percentage do you think are living month to month on gig jobs like that? Versus people that, let's say, are employed in some job, whether it's hourly or salaried, but they're earning essentially the same amount and it's a perpetual thing that they can work, not month to month, but it just goes on until they quit or get fired.
I know of one person that had that situation. So it's not a lot, but I do know one person that did have that situation arise.
Right, but all the other people you know do have those ongoing, like either salaried or hourly jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, for them, why? What are they worried about, or what are they? Are they worried that, oh, the economy's going to change and I'm going to get downsized, or like, what do you think?
Yep.
Yeah, you think that?
Illness with the bad healthcare. You know, you get one bad illness, everything's gone.
Do you know a lot of people like personally that are terrified of a bad illness that's going to wipe them out?
I think it's a concern.
Hmm. Okay.
Terrified, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say terrified, but it's I know people that definitely have that in the back of their minds. You know, my family has a history of X disease, so I'm gonna do what I can to prevent that. And if it does happen to me, I'm gonna have a backup in some way.
See, now I agree with that approach, which is okay, it's a legit concern. Let's say I've got a family history of this kind of disease. I'm going to plan for it. I'm going to have health insurance. I'm going to get my checkups. And if they find something, this is the approach I'm going to take. But in my mind, I say once I've got that plan, then I can move on. I don't have to worry about that anymore. I've just got the contingency set up. I guess that's how I think. My personality type is really contingency planning based. And so I'll think about things that I think have, let's say, a reasonable probability of happening, things that are undesirable, and then I'll make a contingency plan. And as soon as I've got it, I'll go, okay, file that away. Now I'm going to stop thinking about that and move on to what I want to think about.
Yeah,
Do you guys do that too?
yeah,
Do you
I
find
do
that?
that a lot.
Yeah,
And I
Yeah,
feel a lot better after I have the plan set up.
me too. What do you think, Red? Do you do that?
but I do. Um, I've got that in my mind. You know, like family history of high blood pressure or whatever. So I go to the doctor, get my yearly physical. Um, oh, now you've got your high blood pressure. It's been lasting for this amount of time. Check it more often. Oh well, now you got to take medication. So that's the plan and the actions that have to be taken. But I really don't want to use this word, but it's the only thing that's coming to my mind. Is there are people that are not intelligent enough to set up a contingency plan because they live in the now. They don't live in next year.
It's interesting. I see why you're using the word intelligent there. But to me, it's almost like that's a skill. Contingency planning as a default approach is a skill, and it's like something I think people could be trained to do. I think you're right. Maybe there's a lot of people who haven't been trained to do it, not necessarily in school, but maybe let's say by their parents or their guardian or whoever raised them. But it seems like you could teach people how to do that. I mean, you as a contingency planner, you could just hang out with a person who's not like that for a day and then have them watch you and how you go through things. And they would pretty quickly, I think, pick up on how you conduct yourself as a skill to learn. Do you not think so? Do you think they can't do that or wouldn't do that? They don't have the capacity to learn how to contingency plan?
I think some people just don't have it. I think there's people out there that just want to live in the now, or that's all they know how to do is live in the now. And if you want them to learn how to plan out for the next month, I think it's just more than one day. I think it'd take months or years or whatever it is to reteach them that this can happen next month. You need to plan for that. It could be a house fire and you've lost everything. You need to have some sort of plan for that.
what age or like what level of schooling do you think is a good place for that contingency planning skill to be taught?
Probably sometime in high school.
They need a life skills, how to balance a checkbook. I don't even think people have anymore, or how to set up a bank account. You know,
Mm-hmm.
But budgeting and administrative skills. But hey, Kosik, first of all, do you agree that people should be taught the skill of contingency planning, and if so, what level of education do you think that should be taught at?
I think that it's from the beginning.
Like how early or how?
If this happens, what do you think will happen? And you have to provide a safe environment, for that to even be a possibility. Like free school lunches or whatever. You have to make it possible to be able to plan.
So
By paying people enough money so that they have some sort of surplus time, energy, and money. Because a lot of people aren't in a position to consider that.
So you said as early as possible, like
due to a lack of them.
You mean like a toddler?
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's when I was taught, Red.
To whatever their capacity.
I think as a little kid, I think I was raised by a bunch of people who were contingency planners, and I don't think that they explicitly taught it, but they demonstrated it every moment of every day in how they handled problems. And I watched that, and I think I just internalized it. I just absorbed that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the way I was kind of taught too. You get taught as you grow. You've got this much money. You should probably think about maybe putting some aside for something. Start your own bank account, and that's how I was taught too. But there are people out there that are not taught that. They aren't taught. Take $10 a week and put it into a bank account, and then all of a sudden at the end of the year you've got $500, and then you take that $500 and do something else with it and just keep making money. There are people that are not taught that. They don't have the life skills that we were brought up with because of their status in the economy and the reality we live in. That's not the right word. Society. The society that we live in.
I'm actually part of the reality we live in. But yeah, I think raising the economic conditions for the people who need it is extremely important. And I think for the middle class, it just I don't know if it's still taught. I don't know anything about the modern education system, but it seems like it could do better.
I don't disagree. But I think that whole thing is you guys kind of opened up a new topic that we should probably explore more. I hate to do this, but I know Red's kind of up against the deadline here, so we're going to have to call it. This is great. I think maybe next episode we'll pick up talking a little bit about education, it sounds like, or like what's missing in the curriculum, what ought to be in there. Maybe something to keep talking about.
It keeps coming back to that.
Yeah, sorry. Hey, before we go, I know I sort of monopolized in the beginning the discussion of season 2. Did you guys have anything you wanted to like maybe talk about, mention to people, or maybe set a direction? Or
no, I think we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, I may do some post some videos on the channel later, but if I do, they'll be in the playlists.
Cool. Yeah, separate playlist probably for those.
Oh yeah, it'll be a separate thing.
So you'd be able to find them all in one place there. Sounds cool. Anybody have anything else?
Not really.
Stay safe.
Back.
Yeah. Stay safe.
Stay safe. Yeah.
Amen. And relax.
Yeah. If possible. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Well, so this was episode 1 of season 2. Thanks everybody that participated. Thanks everybody that watched. And we will see you next time.
Have a great day.
See ya.
See ya.
The opinions expressed in the preceding podcast are not necessarily those of the individuals who expressed those opinions. The creators and participants of this podcast hereby absolve themselves of any and all liability for damages that might arise as a result of the viewing, hearing, or acting upon the ideas expressed in this podcast. By watching or listening to this podcast, you hereby agree to defend, indemnify, and hold harmless the creators and participants of this podcast from any and all claims, demands, damages, or liabilities resulting from the experiencing of the contents of this podcast.